Over the past 2 years, under the stewardship of the National Democratic Congress administration, Grenada's Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, Forestry and Marine Resources, led by Senator the Honourable Adrian and Honourable Lennox at different periods, has undertaken significant initiatives to fortify the country's agricultural sector and uplift farmers' well-being. During this period, notable progress has been achieved across several fronts. Efforts to revamp Grenada's poultry sector have been underway through a reassessment of the draft Poultry Policy, aiming to modernize regulations and enhance industry standards. Land tenure regularization initiatives have provided a pathway for individuals occupying Crown lands to secure legal ownership, fostering stability and investment in agricultural and commercial land use. The exploration of Grenada's cannabis industry has been advanced through work toward cannabis decriminalization and a focus on its medicinal applications, potentially unlocking new economic opportunities while ensuring regulatory oversight. Additionally, access to a $10 million fund has been secured, targeted at bolstering Grenada's food and nutrition security, indicating a proactive approach to addressing food-related challenges and promoting sustainable agricultural practices. With an allocation of $10 million, government seeks to address critical vulnerabilities and risks associated with food insecurity under its Food Security Enhancement project. This comprehensive initiative comprises 7 essential components: cold storage facilities, enhanced agro-processing, food crop production, livestock and poultry production, small-scale fishes, farm infrastructure, machinery and predial larceny, and training, aimed at ensuring all citizens, especially those in rural areas, have consistent access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food for a healthy life. The project's objectives are clear: to enhance food and nutrition security in Grenada by boosting crop production, facilitating storage and processing of agricultural produce, increasing livestock, poultry, and fish production, and reducing the country's food import bill. Comprising 7 distinct yet integrated components, this initiative will unfold over a 12-month cycle, each component playing a pivotal role in achieving sustainable food security for Grenadians.
The food security project is a component under the World Bank UBEC project. All right, so the food security has an allocation of $10 million. That component was signed off, official started in May of last year. It should complete by the December 31st of this year. There have been some challenges initially in terms of procurement, getting technical specifications, scope of works, etc. But this is behind our back now. We have been able to work through all these problems and challenges, and we are in fact rolling out the project. I would say out of the $10 million that have been allocated, at least $7 million have been fully allocated with procurement happening. The other $3 million, while there is a commitment towards it, 1 or 2 instances we just waiting on either clarification of specification and or persons who have bid to be able to award the final contract. But we're confident that within the next month or so, all the money would be fully allocated, and the project should be able to be fully implemented. Of course, there are some challenges with, as we know, with the issue of transportation. The fact that containers are taking longer, goods are taking longer to get here, and in some cases, some of the contracts that have been awarded, because it is international competitive bidding, some of these contractors will take a bit longer, and sometimes they may require a bigger payment than what the project addressed. Some technical issues, but we are working with the World Bank to resolve these issues. So I would say that the project is on track, albeit late to a certain extent, but we are on track to be able to utilize the fund, and of course to meet the agenda of government in terms of increasing food production, in terms of increasing the support and the enabling environment so that our farmers can be able to produce more.
Aligned with the government of Grenada's unwavering dedication to cultivating a sustainable, equitable, and prosperous Grenada for all, and in harmony with its manifesto vow to launch a comprehensive initiative facilitating land title acquisition for families inhabiting government lands continuously for over a decade for residential, agricultural, and commercial uses, notable progress has been made in fulfilling this commitment. The Land Tenure Regularization Program represents a pivotal step towards providing security to more than 500 individuals within a span of 5 years. This initiative not only safeguards land rights, but also promotes stability and empowerment within communities, underscoring the government's commitment to inclusive development and socio-economic progress.
We are moving this from an insecure tenure to a tenure where persons can now utilize the occupation and the right to occupy in an economic sense. So that's ultimately where we're trying to get to, and that is the empowerment part. The reality, though, is that there are several persons who do not have the correct tenure, and that is where the challenges are. We have been doing significant amount of work in the southern part of Grenada. We have just started. The program is not very old, it's only a couple of months, and we have just started. The major areas of focus at the moment is in the southern part, Calais, Calivini, River Road, Frequenty, those areas in the south. We are now going to, after that, we are going to move out of that southern zone into the rest of Grenada. Of course, Carriacou and Petit Martinique is not left out. In fact, we currently have a team on the ground in Carriacou and Petit Martinique dealing with some specific issues of squatting. And that in itself is a major achievement for the land board up in Carriacou, because that was a challenge that they faced. And we are now in a position to assist to helping. So the land regularization project is really helping in a lot of ways.
Indeed, the creation of employment opportunities stands out as another significant advantage of the project. By formalizing land tenure and promoting agricultural and commercial activities on previously government-owned lands, the initiative generates employment across various sectors, from field officers to administrative roles associated with land regularization. The project stimulates job growth and economic activity, contributing to livelihood enhancement and community development. This aspect underscores the multifaceted positive impacts of the Land Tenure Regularization Program, reinforcing its role in fostering sustainable socio-economic growth in Grenada.
And land is one of the means of production. So if you regularize title and you give people economic power through land titling, you're also raising the standard of living. And that, more than anything else, is probably one of the biggest achievements of this project. The ability for people to now utilize the title that they would acquire to empower themselves economically, to go to the bank or financial institutions, whether it be the credit unions, and get some sort of access to financing. Several persons being capable of raising financing from these institutions are now prepared to put on the additional bedroom. They are now prepared to put on the additional floor on the building. They are now prepared to move it from a wooden base to now prominent structure. And that in itself is an important health and hazard mitigation achievement. So those are important achievements. Over 40 persons have been employed on this project. Let's face it, that is potentially 40 families whose economic position could be improved using the opportunities of employment. So yes, that has been an important aspect of the outcome, and that will continue to be, and we're continuing to grow that, because I could assure you, of all the technical staff, we're still yet to get additional land surveyors, additional professionals that are very difficult to come by. But we are working assiduously to improve it. I am sure by the time the project is completed, there would be probably 50 or 60 people employed. And that in itself will significantly impact the economic benefits of many families in Grenada. That economic achievement through employment is expected to continue for at least 3 to 4 years in the future.
Despite employing 750 individuals, Grenada's poultry industry, comprising approximately 450 farmers, faces challenges in meeting domestic demand. To bridge this shortfall, imports have surged, exceeding $40 million by 2022. The COVID-19 pandemic further strained the sector, prompting a reassessment of the national poultry policy to address job creation and bolster food security. With this new government placing emphasis on agriculture, extensive consultations with stakeholders have been undertaken to elevate local production and improve accessibility to poultry products. These consultations span the 4 agricultural districts as well as Carriacou and Petit Martinique, ensuring engagement with communities poised to derive significant benefits from the proposed enhancements through the implementation of a national poultry policy.
In perspective, we are striving to achieve an integrative chain of sectors in cycle, from growing to rendering, resulting in an industry with zero wastage, which would include hatchery, feed mill, farm growth facilities, centralized processing and rendering, and the cycle repeats itself continuously, achieving sustainability. The revised poultry policy would enable expansion of the entire industry to fill the 40% market allocation, which is stated within its content. It would also allow for the implementation of standards throughout the industry, which must become normalized from growing stage, as we must get into the habit of treating our animals as food. It would also allow for the trust from the financial sector, which would enable lending to the stakeholders, enabling their growth and expansion. Farmers will benefit from subsidized loans and grants for adopting new technologies, and also tax relief on inputs in the form of concessions, which will be lowering the barrier to entry into the industry and also enabling expansion, making it easier for small and medium-sized farmers to thrive. The policy includes mandatory biosecurity protocols for all poultry farms, which will allow for the strict adherence to the growing standards. By the enactment of the poultry extension services, which will actually be the first time, there will be prudent supervision of farms to ensure that these regulations are met and kept. We are focused on centralized processing and distribution, which will allow for farmers to concentrate on growing chickens with best husbandry practices in accordance to the regulatory framework of CARICOM, which we have adopted. While the processing plant would concentrate wholly and solely on technical aspects of the slaughtering, parting and packaging to enhance a standardized product on a constant. We are also in the process of setting up a feed depot in the St. Andrews area. By doing so, we hope to lessen the time and transportation costs. We plan to do that by decentralizing the feed supply. We already have a feed mill in operation, which has pledged its full support for this new development. So we are looking at generalized growth and development for the overall poultry sector in short order. Yes, let's make the industry local, as the benefits will be national.
Grenada's Cannabis Commission, established in response to CARICOM's call for cannabis reform, is tasked with proposing legislative changes by September 2024. Through extensive consultations, the Commission aims to diligently gather public opinion and stakeholder input, ensuring a comprehensive understanding of societal attitudes towards cannabis usage and regulation. Building upon international best practices, the Commission is crafting a tailored regulatory framework that addresses licensing, supply chains, and market considerations, with a focus on strict regulatory standards, hybrid models for medicinal and recreational use, and alignment with evolving global trends. Grenada aims to set a benchmark for responsible cannabis policy within the CARICOM region. As the deadline approaches, the Commission remains steadfast in its commitment to fulfilling its mandate and embracing the transformative potential of cannabis regulation.
Following CARICOM's 2018 report called Waiting to Exhale and the roundtable discussion and initiative led by the Grenada Conference of Churches, as well as changing thoughts of cannabis prohibition internationally, we are committed to exploring a path towards a more evidence-based and responsible approach to cannabis decriminalization. Working towards establishing a cannabis industry is a new and an exciting field, and we're also honored to host in its introduction to Grenada, Carriacou, and the Petite Martinique. But it is equally complex. It requires a careful step-by-step process. It also requires the careful examination and deliberation over relevant data while considering the implications and challenges that may accompany healing two issues in our country, being the freedoms and rights presented in the Grenada Constitution and religious and sacramental use within our Rastafarian community. It's important to clarify the distinction between cannabis decriminalization and cannabis legalization for medicinal and scientific purposes. Decriminalization aims to remove the criminal penalties associated with simple possession of an allowed amount of cannabis. This would not establish a legal market for cannabis sales. That is a separate policy consideration under legalization for medicinal and scientific purposes. The intent of cannabis decriminalization is therefore not to penalize for simple possession, but to remove the long-standing harsh criminal punishments associated with cannabis carry and cannabis use.
These collective efforts underscore a commitment to holistic agricultural development, encompassing policy reform, land management, economic diversification, and food security strategies, with the aim of fostering a resilient, thriving agricultural sector in Grenada.